Beautiful day, Patriots. How are you? Today is day 24 of the 88-step program where we take our notebook and we try to achieve our goals by being aware of and conscious of who we are, what we do, and how we think throughout the day to achieve goals larger than what we could think of or achieve on just a daily basis. Correct? So, going through these type of steps, you become a different person. I mean, no one has ever been the same throughout their whole entire life. I mean, the teen's mind is nowhere near the same mind as a 20-year-old. And then as the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, right? Now, we can get into later stages in life. There's 60s, 70s, 80s. And still have the mind of wanting to do things that we did in our teens or our 40s, whatever the case is. But physically we can't, even though we've got a mind of experience that would help us to be a better, in this case, let's say an athlete, but our physical bodies can't do it anymore, right? So we change as people. As a teenager, and we're using me as an example, I always wanted to surf. And so every day I'd wake up and I'd ask, what do you want to do? And I'd say, I want to surf, and that's what I did. It led me to Hawaii and a whole life of surfing. Now, at this age now, at 55, I still want to surf every day. I love the ocean. It's ingrained in me. It's something that I've always thought that I'd always do. But at this stage of my life, I don't live near the ocean at the moment. So I can't go surfing, even if I wanted to. And I've also crossed the physical line that it's just not as fun to surf when you're sitting there being drowned and surviving for your life. The mind wants big waves, but the body gets just pummeled. You know, it's dangerous out there swimming in the water by yourself, right? So you change. You're absolutely forced to change. Another way that I see how things change within our lives by observing myself or others, let's say, that in my teens, I was considered a Fruit Loop, nutcase, California, Southern California, crazy nut job. Why? Because I believed in UFOs. And back in the 1970s, if you even brought the word up, UFO, you were demonized, thrown into nobody wanted to talk to you. You were a nutcase, an absolute nutcase. Now, we're in 2021, so people that are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s right now possibly would say, no, that's not true. I've always believed in UFOs. And I'm telling you right now, that's just definitely not the case. You were considered a nut job till way past 2010, maybe even I would say somewhere past 2000 was the first time public was really starting to talk about it, or, just making it a mainstream subject, let's just say. And now in 2021, if you say you don't believe in UFOs, you are now the nut job. So you see how things change, and you change without you realizing it or wanting it. It's going to happen regardless if you want it to or not. Correct? Now, if we're consciously aware of what we're doing, we can go through these stages and steps and have them benefit towards our goals, or they can destruct our whole life. A lot of the times, like someone that's very slow, like myself, it takes many decades to see the patterns in life, to see which would be best lifestyle, let's say, to live. A lot of people will sit there and work really hard when they're young and strong so that they can retire and go play golf as an old man. I was different. I physically went and played golf when I was a young kid. And now that I'm an old man, It just doesn't even sound like fun anymore, riding in a golf cart just all day, going around chasing and hitting a ball. How boring. Did it already when I was physically fit and loving it. I'd hate to have to do it as an entertainment or an exercise only. Or that's, my goal. You ever see like a 70-year-old man driving around in a brand new Corvette? How ridiculous that looks. It's the same thing with retirement. You work all your whole life and do all these type of things so that you can then become retired and have all this money and go enjoy all these fruits of your labor. But who guaranteed you tomorrow? Who guaranteed you tomorrow? Now, I'm not saying it's not smart to work towards the future. That's what this whole thing's about. I say, money is not important, but to be realistically about the whole thing, you can't sit there and live your life with no money, correct? You still have to keep it in perspective and have enough of money to keep yourself fed, clean, blah, 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 blah. But do you need a $4 million yacht while you watch your humanity brothers and sisters suffer? That's up to you. That's a mind change that maybe the world's trying to get into. Instead of the money and seeing UFOs as crazy and saying money's crazy, maybe one day we'll all be going, look, we all understand how money manipulates the mind, which manipulates the soul, which then means that we can be bought and sold and justify our actions of doing mean and cruel things to others for the sake of the dollar. So if we're talking about those type of things and we're trying to change our lives and see things instead of late, see them earlier, maybe not a great example, but I want to talk about something. I want to be showing and doing this so that people would then have the interest to read the Bible. Because we go out and listen to other people's interpretation of the Bible, and then we don't have our own thought process of it. We believe in others still. When we read the Bible ourselves, and then when we hear others talk about the Bible, the stories become so much more alive, and then all of a sudden other insights come. Instead of believing this person, you're like, well, wait a minute, I remember the story a little different, or then the Holy Ghost within inside you can then come and talk to you. No one can stop the Holy Ghost unless you keep yourself distracted with man. So that brings us to the first one. When they talk about the point in time when the virgins are burning the midnight oil and half of them run out of oil and they have to go back to town to get a refill of oil, what does that kind of mean? Well, I haven't heard anybody really say it this way, so please forgive me. It's my interpretation, it's my opinion, or the way I'm seeing how this might be played out. Is that once you see what you're doing wrong, you can't go back to your old ways and keep on doing those same things and expecting to keep calling yourself woke. How about if I steal that word? Right? I mean, that's like saying I've got the oil, but I don't need to use my oil. I'm going to go burn other people's oil. The other part I want to talk about is when it says no one knows the day or hour when Jesus comes and returns. As I repeat up here, who promised you tomorrow? What if that phrase means no one knows the day or hour that you die and go and meet Jesus? Maybe he don't come here in everybody's life, but maybe you go and see him and you don't know the day or the hour. God bless you, my friends. All glory to Jesus. I will see you tomorrow on day 25.